The best analogy I've ever heard for trying to explain the Trinity to somebody is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a lot better than many others. Many of the analogies that people come up with to try to explain the Trinity are quite terrible. People will be like, oh, it's like water in 3 different states of matter, and that's wrong. Or they'll be like, it's Cerberus with 3 heads, or it's like a rose with 3 petals. Or these are all terrible. The best analogy I've ever heard for trying to explain it to somebody involves books. So imagine you're sitting at a table, and on the table in front of you is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, original paperback edition, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, 20th anniversary hardcover edition, and Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, I don't know, like illustrated boxed set edition or something like that. And somebody comes up to you with an interest in reading a book. They want to borrow a book to read, and they ask you, hey, how many books do you got? And I think most people intuitively can understand how the answer 1 and the answer 3 both make sense in different ways. In one very real sense, you only have 1 book that they can borrow to read. There's only 1 story there. In another sense, clearly, you have 3 things sitting in front of you, right? There are 3 distinct books sitting in front of you. In order to explain how the answer could plausibly be both 1 and 3, you're going to need to make a distinction. You're going to need to come up with a term to describe what is 1 about these books, and another term to describe what is 3 about these books. Now, in a contemporary English-speaking context, it's impossible that you would come up with the terms that the early church came up with to try to describe what the Trinity is like. You're not going to say there's 1 ousia, 1 essence, and 3 hypostases, substances, or natures, or something like that to describe this book situation, but you might come up with something else. You might say, well, there's 1 story here, 1 narrative here, 1 unique set of content with unique identifiable attributes, and then there's 3, copies, publications, instances of this 1 content. Whatever you're going to do, you're going to come up with 2 different terms to describe what is 1 and what is 3 about these books sitting in front of you. And so I think this analogy focuses us on what is most important about the doctrine of the Trinity. If it's possible for you at all to understand how the answer to that question, how many books do you have, is both 1 and 3, I think you are taking your first steps to being able to understand what the doctrine of the Trinity is like.